What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to I Do It Myself. I'm Wayno. How y'all feeling? If you like what it is that we do over here, hit that sub button, hit them likes, and run up that hype. Today we talking about Lil Durk, but today is a little bit of a twist because it's Durk's 33rd birthday. And while he is having his 33rd birthday, still in the early stages of his 30s, he's in federal custody fighting a charge for murder for hire. Now, the thing about Durk fighting this charge is that there's people who are starting to cooperate. It was said that, in the last report about how it was some guy and, he was contracted to go over O Block and do some stuff to O Block members and all of that. Durk has got a long road ahead of him, but he's been keeping his head high. And I want to talk about that before we get into the videos that we're going to share. He does drop a snippet, drops a snippet of a record with a little bit of a message. But I do want to talk about the fact of him being behind bars at this point in career in his life. The only person that I seen wish him happy birthday that he reposted was Pooh Shiesty. And Pooh Shiesty is just now coming home from doing 5 years being in the federal penitentiary. Now, Durk, like I said, he has a long road ahead of him. And this road is going to be fought with him and him alone. See, the thing about being a gangster, it's a cold job. It's not something that's easy. It's not a job where people thank you. You know what I mean? Being a gangster is something that you gotta be on your own. You feel me? And I don't think a lot of people who end up in the situation of being a gangster wants to be gangsters. But this whole situation is coming from potential retaliation against Quando Rondo. We all know that Quando Rondo was involved with the fight with King Von in Atlanta. Most recently, we seen YoungBoy perform the I Hate YoungBoy song in Atlanta after receiving the key to the city. I don't know how an artist who's not from a city gets a key to a city. That shit is crazy, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother episode. This currently, though, has shown me that no matter how many times people try to reach their mountain peaks, you know what I mean? No matter how many times you think that you're at the pinnacle of your success, it can all be taken from you if you're making the wrong decisions or you're hanging around the wrong people. Now, there's a phone call. I think Durk was talking to his family and friends and his father specifically, and he was just, sharing what he thought and what his mind was when it comes to his deen, his faith. Let's listen to that and come back.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
What I was saying was my father had briefed me on what's going on, and I said, I'm going to let y'all know I'm proud of y'all for the sake of Allah. I love y'all for the sake of Allah, I'm doing better, man. We all got to take chances, and, we've been offered a lot right now, so I just want to let y'all know that we're with y'all 100%. When I get out of here, inshallah, ASAP before October or during trial, I have to go, I'm going to leave that example. And I told him I want to come down there and see y'all, or speak to y'all. So, what I'm saying? Get y'all math right, get y'all brotherhood together, and get on the deen. I love y'all for the sake of Allah.
Love.
We love you back, man. Jazakallah khair.
Hey, Pop, I'm going to mix it up.
Now, while there is people who do support Lil Durk getting out, you have one specifically, Queen Kima, who is King Von's baby mom. She says, when Durk get out, y'all stay our bitch ass on that side. Let's just talk about the fact of the matter, right? Like I said once before, being a gangster is a cold job. Durk is on a path that only him and God knows is how it's going to shake out. He says that he's been, he's been very vocal about how he's been staying to his faith, staying to himself while he's been locked up. Again, there was also reports of him potentially having an Apple Watch and him being insubordinate with getting caught with the Apple Watch. He wasn't owning up to it. They saying that he's violating all of these different rules, and that's not going to help him, in his situation. And Lil Zay Osama has something to say. He's an artist from Chicago, and he has something to say to the degree about how the music industry has changed on Lil Durk since his incarceration. I think that this is a very, very interesting take that he has. I want to share my thoughts on it, but let's all watch it together like a family.
Everybody jumping ship because that's how the industry is. Nobody in the industry is going to stick around you when you're at your lowest. If they can't get clout, notoriety, money, fame, features, videos, something that they could benefit from off you, they're going to jump ship. I don't see why it's surprising that everybody is on YB Dick in the industry. That's how it go. They only gonna fuck with you when it's beneficial to them. None of these niggas ain't grow up with Durk. None of these niggas ain't friends or real homies with Durk for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? Or they would never change, or they would never jump ship. Cause where we from, if you fuck with me, my ops is your ops is mine. Some people don't look at it like that. Some people look at it like I fuck with both parties, I ain't got nothing to do with it. And look, you not wrong for that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, shout out to the motherfuckers that still there, stayed down for Durk, his real family and friends. You feel me? Nah, for real though.
Now, I think that this video is directed at somebody specific, even though Zay doesn't say so, because he mentions the industry and he mentions where he's from and how people do what he's from. Thing about being in the music industry, it's an industry. It has nothing to do with personal friendship. Now, I don't know what people expect out of others to do when somebody's in a situation like this. Durk is currently potentially facing the death penalty. You know what I'm saying? For an act of crime that was committed in Los Angeles, where he's not from or none of the parties is from. So with that being said, I think that there's this crazy ass line that gets blurred, and I'm gonna blame a lot of music industry people for it as well. When Durk is out here, right, and maybe they're around him, and I'm not saying specific artists or anything because I don't know. I don't hang around artists, so I don't know what people be going through. But I'm saying like people who do get around him, they might champion or celebrate certain types of activity, right? Or they might salute certain types of things from a person. Keep in mind, everything against Lil Durk, regardless to how people feel personally, is alleged. He has not been convicted of anything. Want to put that out there. But the fact of the matter is this. When you get into a situation where you commit a crime, nobody is coming to save you. You want to know why? They didn't get into the music industry to commit crimes. They didn't get into the music industry to commit crimes with you, right? Now, Zay says about where he's from. Well, keep in mind that most of the people that you're talking from, or if you're referring to them, are not from Chicago. And that's no knock to Chicago. Much love to Chicago. I think Chicago is a city that is rich in a lot of ways. And I'm not talking about financial, I'm talking about cultural. Chicago gets this negative, horrible rap for the street activity or the criminal activity that goes on, which that makes up the smallest amount of what that city represents. If you go there, if you've been around the right people, if you've done certain things, you'll know that. You got tons of great people that come from Chicago, and I'm not going to highlight them in comparison to what goes on in the streets because this is not about that. All I'm saying is this. It's not about a Chicago thing. It's not about a music industry thing. It's a criminal case thing. When you catch a case, you could be with 20 people the day you caught it, from sun up to sundown. When you in that courtroom and you turn around to look, you ain't going to see none of the motherfuckers. And you want to know why? Because people don't want to be associated with anything that could potentially lead them to being in trouble too. Now, I'm not saying that that is the specific case for Durk. They already done wrapped up a lot of people that is tied to Durk for whatever said reasons. I don't know for every single situation. I'm not following the case on a paperwork by paperwork basis where I'm trying to break down every line. I want to see how this goes like everybody else. But let's keep things in perspective for 1 second. Durk's support should be from his family and his family specifically. Durk's support is not going to be from a record label because you want to know why? People think that when you go to jail or when you pass away, that there's this big influx of algorithm when it comes to music business. Yes, notoriety, the shit you see, you might see spikes at that moment. But people who pass away and people who are in prison can't perform at shows. People who pass away and people who are in prison can't always benefit or make money off of the things that they have done prior, depending on their situation. In Durk's instance, right, I get where Lil Zay Osama's coming from because he's a Chicago guy. He has ties to OTF, you know what I'm saying? He's worked with Durk before. But we cannot start to think or believe that at any point of you inserting yourself into the music industry, that same said industry that does profit, yes, that's the caveat in all this shit, that does profit off of the things that you say that you call art are going to support art actually becoming life. They're not. You want to know why? Also, association. Association. You ever heard guilty by association? You ever heard the wrong place at the wrong time? You ever heard you are who you hang around? Yeah. People don't want to be associated with that when it's time to go to jail, when it's time to push the narrative about who's the gangster, who's the toughest, who put belt to ass, who catch hats, who do all of that other shit. Yes, people want to stand next to them. You want to know why? It's like the safari. You want to be close enough to the danger in the jungle. But when the lion bite the gazelle, you do not want that splatter to hit you. Pause. You don't. You want to be close enough to where you could say, I was there. I experienced it. I might have been around and seen some things or heard some things, but you do not want to be on that stand. You do not want to be a co-defendant. You do not want to be a part of an indictment. That's why you cannot be a gangster and be a rapper. You got to choose one. Durk drops a snippet. Let's listen to a little bit and read the message that he left on his IG.
Paid call from
who you depend on. If you need something, who can you bend on? Ask your she really putting in the friend zone. Came from nothing, ate on nothing, had nothing to put my grits on. Run it up, I'm from the mud, I really watched the Flintstone. Fortnite, put the car down to get the skins on. Olympic shots to her tummy tuck to put her pants on. Cass came back on bro, mama, hope she live long. Seen them cry 1,000 nights, I hope you know I feel for him. Long live.
Now, with Durk being incarcerated currently, right? I think from a fan's perspective, we can all take in a moment and say, oh man, if he doesn't get out of this jam, what a waste of talent, right? But then you have to think, you know, on both sides. If he's not convicted for something like this, then woo, wow, right? But if he is, then there's people who want some sort of level of redemption for themselves and their families. Now, look, Durk, you know, he left this message along with that snippet. It says, I don't have all the words, but I'm thankful to still have a voice. Thankful for everyone who stood on love when things got heavy. I'm working on myself, working on my peace, and hoping the city feels that too. The question we all got to ask ourselves, is it too late? This is I Do It Myself. For the ones that rock with me, you know how we doing. For the ones that don't, eventually you will. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.